my lane fast, call it high speed. I've been working hard, yeah, I've been working nightly. If you think you'll win, nah, likely. I be taking shots, yeah, cold-blooded, icy. Watching numbers grow is what I call sightseeing. In the front row, run it up when they hype me. The following grows, they know how to ignite me. Call me CEO, I've been running right, see. And I ain't playing games, I create my own lane, making pleasure out of pain, turning losses into...
Pittsburgh Steelers fans, happy Thursday evening. Welcome to a special live. You might recognize the guys with me. You've seen them on Behind the Steel Curtain. You've seen them on Pittsburgh Steelers Syndicate. They've been on their own episodes or their own shows with Steelers Nation Australia and Britsburgh Owen. Welcome, guys. How y'all doing? Welcome to the show.
How's it going?
I'm doing great. How about you? How you doing tonight, Owen?
Yeah, good man. Good to talk some Steelers tonight. Across the world.
Across the world. I mean, this is a Steelers episode for fans from afar. I thought I was a fan from afar, being from Texas. You guys are in complete different continents.
I thought I was a fan until I met Owen.
Really?
Yeah, I thought I was like one of the biggest fans. I'm like, Owen just does not stop. Owen kills it, man. Owen's killing it.
That's true. That's true. I've seen a lot of Owen's videos and things of that nature. I love the enthusiasm and you really get me hyped up for Steelers content. I recently saw an episode of yours, Mark, where you were talking about why Australians don't like football and things of that nature. How did you become a fan? How did you get involved and whatnot? Let's hear your story.
Well, I'm one of the lucky ones. Let's be honest. Like, football is one of the greatest sports, or gridiron's one of the greatest sports ever to be played, or made up, right? So my story in a big nutshell is it all started with back in 1990s, or when I was playing Madden with my brothers on the Sega. So it was like 1994, 95. Jordan Madden football, and you had like the two bit controls, A and B. You threw the ball up and it went up in the air. And when you caught it, your icon turned orange, that kind of stuff, and the whistles in that game. So I played Madden with my brothers when I was little. Must have been like, in the 95 or 96, must have been like 7 or 8 years old or whatever, or when I was getting from 7 to 8, 9. And then I started, and this is the best thing. If you guys can ever go back and watch around the 2000s, like the movies like the Little Giants, back in the day with the little kids running around going crazy. And you had the Replacements, you had Friday Night Lights, the actual movie, and you had I can't remember now. Remember the Titans was one of the best movies to ever be made, really, like a football movie, and probably in this day and age, something we all need to watch again for a lot of issues going on, and how we need to come together, and whatever issue it is, come together as a unit and play football. And yeah, so Remember the Titans was one of those ones that really stood out to me. I was like, oh, this is a really great game to watch. And I just chose them because of the colors, basically. It was black and gold, and then here we are.
Oh, man, it's a great color combination. I love the black and gold. It's been one of my favorite colors that I've worn forever. What about you, Britsburgh? What is your story? How did you become a fan?
So I started watching the NFL back in '88 when I was like 10 years old. So that was a long time ago. It shows how old I am. And it was like Channel 4 over here. Started showing like highlights of the NFL. A guy called Mick Luckhurst, who was a kicker for the Atlanta Falcons, previously was a British guy as well. He was hosting it. So just got into that, started watching it, loved the NFL. Because I loved the game, I just thought, well, you know what? I'm going to pick a team. Got to start choose a team. So I'm a bit of a history nerd, history buff. That's my passion, one of my passions. So I went back, looked at the history of the NFL, at the history of the teams. Loved the story of the 70s Steelers. Loved all the names, all the stories about Jack Lambert, Jack Ham, Mean Joe Green, LC Greenwood, Mad Dog, all those. And then decided to choose the Steelers, the black and gold, and the fact that Chuck Noll was still the coach, obviously in '88 was a link there. I mean, it could have been so easy to just choose the 49ers because they won the Super Bowl that year, but now I went with the Steelers. Just love the Colton history. It was all down to that, really. That's why I chose them. And that's also, great. There's like Pittsburgh. There was some similarities between Pittsburgh and where I'm from in England originally. It's very sort of blue-collar town, past industrial, like my town, just very similar. So another reason to pick Pittsburgh Steelers, basically.
Nice. So in Mark's episode or show on his show, he said there's not very many Australians that like the Steelers or like football in general. Is that the same out there in Britain? Do you see that also being the the issue, or is there a lot more fans of the NFL there?
Football's growing over here. It really is. I mean, if you look at the Wembley games, there's a lot of people go to the Wembley games, the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium games. You know, they're always sold out. There's a few people I see around in where I come from. It's quite a small town. It's not very big. There's only 120,000 people live here. You see the odd NFL jersey, and some of them have some knowledge of the game. You know, I see the odd Packers jersey, the odd Patriots jersey. The other day at work, I was telling Mark I saw the most appalling, horrible thing ever. I saw someone in a Baker Mayfield jersey. Yeah. It ruined my day, man. It just absolutely spoiled my day, that did. Because I was at work, I couldn't say anything horrible to him.
Oh, no.
Man, it is great. I think the NFL has again, NFL seems to go through sort of patches over here. When we had like the London Monarchs in the World League or whatever it was called, with like, you know, the Barcelona Drone, the Rhine Fire, it was popular, and then it sort of died off. But now it seems to be making a comeback again, and you know, and I think obviously the Wembley games are very popular. So yeah, it is making a comeback over here.
That's great. Is there a lot of Jacksonville Jaguar fans out there, given that they kind of take that trip quite often?
There's a few. You know, I was looking earlier today on the NFL UK thing on Facebook, and there's quite a few people saying like they bought their Jags tickets, and I was taking the Mickey out of them. Taking the Mickey out of them for buying Jags tickets, you know. So no, are they not giving them away for free because who'd want to watch them and things like that? So, you know, no, the only Jags fan I've ever met, he was really apologetic for it. He says, he was like, oh, I'm a Jaguars fan. Sorry about that.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that team is one next bad coach away from being full-time out there. We'll see what happens, though. So this offseason has been kind of crazy, guys. It's been super active. We've lost our longtime quarterback in Ben Roethlisberger. We've lost our longtime general manager in Kevin Colbert. Things are kind of taking a twist and a change. What has been the most exciting thing that you've guys seen, or what is the most exciting thing for y'all this season so far, this offseason for the Pittsburgh Steelers that they've done? We'll start with you, Mark.
You know, this is going to sound crazy, but one of the most exciting things is actually Big Ben retiring. Now, I know it's crazy, but the more you think about it, the more, look, I love Big Ben. I think we all do. He did tremendous things for the organization, right? But the more you think about it, he just wasn't playing right the last 2 years after the injury. Yes, he gave us the same kind of chance in the games to go out there and win games. But there are times with that Minnesota Vikings game where we're down by 20 points and he's coming back all the way and then we can't win. So I think the most exciting time now is that we actually have a quarterback competition that is Trubisky, Pickett, and Rudolph, or even Oladukin. We have some people in there that may be number one, or in the future can be number two, number three. So the most exciting point really is that we have a fresh new face and a new era. And I'm not saying that Trubisky or Pickett is going to be the next franchise guy. I'm not going to fall into that trap. I don't think we should. I just think we're just going into something where, you know, we're not rebuilding. We're kind of like retooling or remodeling a certain few things because we have TJ, we have Cam, we have Minka. It seems like, in my opinion, we've done everything right that we needed to do. And we didn't stress out. We didn't stress out and go and get Watson. We didn't stress out and go and get Rodgers, even though they could have been options for us to do that. And yeah, with Big Ben retiring, it's like, okay, we have like a new fresh go this season. What can happen? And the whole world is against us. Like the whole world is absolutely, even some Steelers fans are against us. So I'm keen to see what can happen, because this offseason has told me that just to trust the organization and get behind your team, because you went out and got James Daniels, you got Miles Jack, you got a lot of guys, you paid guys you needed to pay, like Minka. And you're setting up for something you're setting up for a competitive year, if that makes sense, right, in a nutshell. So I've loved, in now doing stuff with the Syndicate and with Owen and what we're all doing now, I've loved going through the motions from the draft to now being where we are, 30 days away from the training camp.
Oh yeah, it's exciting time right now. I mean, it's a little bit of a dead time, because from here to the time training camp starts, to be honest with you, no news is probably better news than anything. But what about you, Owen? What has been your biggest, move for the Pittsburgh Steelers that they've done this offseason so far?
I mean, I completely agree with what Mark said about the quarterback thing. I do think, it's a start of a new era for Pittsburgh. We finally got a quarterback that actually can try and make this Canada system work. So yeah, so moving away from what sort of Mark said, one of the biggest things I love the draft pick of George Pickens. I just absolutely love it to bits. I honestly think this guy is going to be. He's going to be wide receiver one for Pittsburgh Steelers. He's going to be one of the best receivers in the NFL. I was watching some of his highlights again today from college, and he is awesome. He's fast. He's strong. He's got good hands. He can take catches under so much pressure. He goes up, he gets the ball, and then he comes down, he goes again. He's just absolutely awesome. So they've done the right thing again. They've retooled in all the right positions. So the George Pickens draft pick is just amazing for me. And I think they've made the right decision as well with the general manager. I think Omar Khan has sort of straight away started to prove that he's not just a numbers guy. He is a football guy. And whether that's him or Andy Vidal, whatever he's called, behind him, I think the front office changes have been amazing. I think they've already started to prove themselves to be the right choices, because I honestly think that I love Kevin Colbert, don't get me wrong. I think he was amazing, but I don't think he would have gone out and signed Ogunjobi. I think he would have been quite happy to ride with what we've got going into the season after Tuitt's retirement. And I think the acquisition of Khan wants to put his own stamp on this roster, and I think he's doing that with Ogunjobi. He got the Minka deal done quicker than the Watt deal was done last year. And I think he's still probably looking to bring in a couple of players with that $15.1 million in cap space. So, yeah, the general manager thing, I think, is a great appointment by Art Rooney. Second.
No, I do too. I agree that appointment of him has been amazing. He's done some great things. With Larry Ogunjobi, one thing that he's done differently that we can kind of see so far is that he gave him a 1-year deal. That wasn't very common in Kevin Colbert's era. It was he didn't give the prove it type of deals where you have 1 year that you could have up to, so to speak. It was always this amount and that's it. And like, for instance, like Juju Smith-Schuster, he went to the Chiefs this year. He has that type of structure on his contract where he's going to have his base salary and then he has his accolades that he can get, and then he can get paid for those as well. We really don't do those. It's been rumored that we've done that with Ogunjobi. I'm excited about that. Now, the next question that everybody has is, what's the next move for him? I think it's Chris Boswell. A lot of folks are looking at Deontay Johnson. We'll start with you, Mark. Which way do you think that Omar Khan is going to go? And do you think that he'll even extend Deontay Johnson this year?
I think you have to go out and sign Chris Boswell, because that will obviously, send a good message to the team. And that's just like almost one of the last pieces to the puzzle he may do. He may bring in a running back as well. We don't know. But with the Deontay Johnson, I don't think at this stage, with the amount of money that Terry McLaurin got the other day, that I don't think they go out and extend Johnson this year. I don't think it's heading that direction, because you'll probably see like news reporting on news sites, trying to say, well, this is happening, that's happening. So maybe that Johnson might be on the 1 year this year and see what happens next year, because like I think that position as well. I know players go out and get all the money, right? But every year you get talented receivers. Like, you get talented receivers through the draft, and you can get guys that are in the third round, second round for your team. So it doesn't need to put a threshold on the organization to say spend all your money here and then not have money elsewhere. So, and it's not like Deontay Johnson is a really good receiver, but like it wouldn't hurt me to say that he was cut, or that he got traded away, or that he went to free agent. I think it'd be like, thanks, mate. You've done your time. You've played well for the Steelers. You found a new spot, a bit like what they did with James Conner, right? And James Conner was a running back, and now he's with the Cardinals, and he signed a 3-year deal. But yes, he had a fantastic year with the Cardinals, but I don't know if we see that the Steelers need to stress it out. I think it's going to work itself out how it has been. And that's why I think we're a good organization as well, because we just don't jump the gun and go, here's, $17 million, $18 million a year, blah, blah, and lock him up. And then, we kind of go through a methodical process of these things. So I think Chris Boswell, definitely, like, I would be upset if they don't sign him. Sign him. Brilliant kicker. He's one of your pieces that for the next 4 years, we can start to win with this guy and with all the other guys. And then Deontay, I would say, if I was the manager, I'd say, okay, guys, look, Deontay, go out and play. You're playing not only for a chance to play with us, but a chance to play with, another team. And we're not even sure if he's going to work well with Trubisky, or if he's going to work well with Pickett as well. So those are two ideas as well.
That's true. What about you, Owen? Do you think that the next move is Boswell? And what do you think about Deontay Johnson's contract?
I think it's got to be Bos. I mean, he's one of the best kickers in the NFL. I mean, the only kicker that's arguably on the same level as him, and wash my mouth out for saying this, is Justin Tucker. But yeah, so he's got to be Boz. I mean, the guy's in the last 3 years, his accuracy is 90% and over for the last 3 years since that dreadful season he had in 2018. So yeah, Boz, it's got to be Boz. And it's not like he's going to cost a king's ransom either. You know what, $4 or $5 million a year? That's nothing compared to what, you know, some of these other guys are getting. As for Deontay, I think the McLaren deal has made it really, really hard for us to go and sign him. I mean, McLaren's getting what, about 23 million a year now. You've got, you know, some other guys. I mean, even like Mike Williams, the Chargers, is getting 20 million. Chris Godwin's getting 20 million a year. Stephon Diggs is getting somewhere in the region of 23, 24 million. That's what Deontay Johnson's agent is going to be looking for the Steelers. And I just don't think they want to pay that. I just don't think. I mean, Deontay's had one season over 1,000 yards. He is a good receiver, don't get me wrong, but I just don't think they're ready to pay 23 million for him. And also the fact they're going to have the same conversation about Chase Claypool next season, because he'll be going into his last year of his contract. So if you sign Deontay, then you're saying for definite you're getting rid of Chase Claypool. Plus, I think we've got Pickens, we've got Austin, we've got Boykin, we've got Miller, we've got Chase for another 2 years. There are some great receivers coming up in next year's draft class. You know, people like Jordan Addison, who, although he's transferred to USC now, when he was at Pitt, he had a telepathic understanding with Kenny Pickett. So he's someone the Steelers may look at next year. So I just don't think they want to do that deal. I just think 23 million is too much for Deontay Johnson.
I agree. Go ahead, Mark.
Oh, plus also, like, the offense is going to be different this year, I reckon. Like, we're going to be more run-based, and I reckon they're going to feed the ball a lot to Muth and to Najee and to, you know, some of the receivers. But it's not like we're going to go 5 wide like every time that Big Ben did. Big Ben went 5 wide or 4 wide or whatever he did, and pretty much dissected the defense and threw the football where he needed to go. And he went to his guy, DJ. So, you know, DJ might have a lesser role this year, knowing that we have Pickens and Austin there and Claypool. Hopefully Claypool starts to emerge again as the number 1 receiver or number 2, right? It's going to be a very different offense, I think, for DJ this year, because also working in the motion. If DJ works into the motion a bit like, you know, Deebo Samuel does too, for sure, then he's worth that. But I think right now in this offense and in the NFL, I don't think he's worth that much money, because I would say that Terry McLaurin's even probably a better receiver. And I like watching Terry McLaurin play, and I feel bad that he's stuck in Washington. Although he's getting the money, but Washington is a bad team. And he's their best player on offense. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with DJ. But I think we're all agreeing we don't want to push out too much money right now for someone who you could, you know, someone can take over the reins in the draft, or like Owen said, another player on the roster, Boykin or whoever. You know, it's not our focus right now. Our focus is Najee and giving the ball to Muth.
Right. No, I completely agree. So, but you guys bring up an interesting point. Going on to the future, if we had to align with one receiver, whether it's be Deontay Johnson or Claypool, to be that number 1 receiver, you know, past this season, who do you think that the Steelers would choose for that, or who would you prefer the Steelers to select in that position? Because both of them are coming up when it comes to contracts. Deontay this year, Claypool next year. I honestly and personally think that Claypool might be a little bit on the hot seat. When you pick up a George Pickens, when you pick up a Miles Boykin, they have a similar skill set. They're tall, fast receivers. I think that's a message to Claypool because of that, in my personal opinion. But I have heard the argument that Claypool is coming up next year. He had an amazing rookie season. He did have a fall off last year. You know, a lot of it could be the quarterback. A lot of it could have been maybe the play calls due to who was at the quarterback. But what do you guys think? Would you guys prefer a bigger, faster receiver, physical guy like a Claypool, or a smaller route runner type of guy for that number 1 receiving position? We'll start with you, Owen.
I know Mark will disagree, but I'm a big Chase Claypool fan. I really like Chase Claypool. I think after, you know, his rookie season was probably more reflective of what he can do. I think as well he started to show that more mature attitude this year. He has seemed to be seemingly grown up. You know, he came out with that remark the other day that he's a top 3 receiver. But if you actually listen to what he said, he didn't actually say that he was a top 3 receiver now. He said that he wants to be a top 3 receiver, something that even the Chris Carter backed up as well on Locked On Steelers. So Claypool, I think, has got all the skills. He's fast, he's quick, he's strong. I just think he's got a lot more to offer than Deontay Johnson. And I think that Claypool with Pickens, with Boykin, it just offers that far more physical approach. Plus, we've got Calvin Austin now, who could be that route runner. For me, I would go with Claypool. I just like the guy's skill set a whole lot more than Johnson's.
Nice. What about you, Mark? Are you also leaning that way?
I do agree with Claypool. I think Claypool can play some good football. However, get rid of these. All right.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
just tighten up a little bit. And that still frustrates me, man. I'm still frustrated about that. You can't be yelling at Trey Turner like that. I'm just a little bit frustrated at that stuff. Go out and play football. However, there could be a very well chance that the Steelers don't sign both these guys to long contracts. Because really, what have they really done for us lately? You bring in Pickens, and like Owen says, I'm excited about Pickens to see what he can do. He seems like he's a dog. He's ready out there to play physical, catch some contested balls, and go out there. There's a chance that they don't sign both these guys to long deals. I could really see it, honestly, and they might use them as trade value to other teams who need these kind of receivers, because I think the Steelers are really going to go into using Najee, using Muth, and having a few receivers out there to catch the football, depending who Mitchell Trubisky works with. This is what I'm saying. It's a whole new era now. We don't know, because Big Ben used to be like, okay, I've got my guy and go to his guy, and even towards the end of last year, somehow Ray McLeod was his guy. Right. So it depends who's gonna work with Trubisky. I want them all to succeed 100%. And the best thing would happen would be with that Claypool and Deontay both go off and are both part of the offense. And next minute, we are scratching our heads going, who do you sign? What do you do? And the Steelers would be the same thing. But I think the better they perform is better for us for winning this year, and also chance to maybe trade them, or if they are they both free agents this year at the end?
No, just DJ this year, and then Chase the year after.
Right. Okay. So there's the possibility you might be able to trade Chase, because there are other teams out there that are like sweating bullets trying to get guys like these guys. And I think the Steelers are going to be more focused around running the football, get Muth involved, and hopefully, my old school football brain is like, run 70% or run 60% and pass 40, not pass happy like Ben was all the time. As much as I loved him, but I want to see that kind of football. And I think, but out of those two, I think Claypool has the more talent to succeed. Just got to get your head in the right space and go play football.
I think the thing with Claypool as well is Claypool is very effective when he goes deep, when he runs deep routes. But if you remember last year, Ben, on average, released the ball after 2.2 seconds, which is just not enough time to get deep. And if you look at where the Bengals had success, it was because Burrow could use his legs, he could move around, which meant that the likes of T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Jamar Chase could actually get deep, because Burrow was able to extend the play for them to actually get separation from the guys who were covering them, something that Chase and also Deontay couldn't do last year, because Ben's getting the ball and virtually straight away he's throwing it, and you just can't get away from your covering that time. And I think that's why Chase really suffered last year.
Yeah, I think Ben was kind of in a scenario where he was checked out. Like, he knew he was kind of done and dusted, where we have two quarterbacks now who are going to go out there and fight for number one. So that's why I'm saying we're in a new era, because Ben he wasn't throwing that football down the field or connecting or staying in the pocket. He was pretty much, from his early years, he was holding to the football for 10 seconds. And then last year or year before, he'd get rid of the football in 0.5 or 1.5 seconds. And it wasn't enough time to establish the route. So it's going to be very intriguing to see what can happen in a new offense, but like where the quarterback actually wants to, extend the plays or have a chance to run as well. So,
for sure,
I don't know.
For sure, it's going to be exciting. I mean, whether we have whichever quarterback is in there, one thing that Kenny Pickett or Mitch Trubisky, I honestly think Mason's not going to be on the 53 come week one, guys. But
Yay!
I don't know why he's there. We have the future in Kenny Pickett. He recently came out and stated that he liked Chris Olendokin very much, and that he was basically conjoined to the hip with him. Ben Roethlisberger in the past has always had that backup quarterback that he's always liked, whether it be Landry Jones, Charlie Batch, or even most recently in Dobbs. And, he kept Dobbs on the season last year, even, due to I know he went through the injury, but the reason why he stayed on the field, in my opinion, is because of his relationship with Big Ben. I think that they're going to continue to have that with the main quarterback and the backup quarterback. So Chris Oladokun, I think, is going to be, be on our team for a while. I think that main competition, though, for that first first step is going to be between Mitch Trubisky and Mason. And the fact that they're already giving Mitch, the default position, it's going to be his job to lose. And all indications coming out of training camp and whatnot is that Mitch was a little bit faster than Mason. And so I don't understand why he's even on the team at this point. I guess maybe waiting for an injury or something to get more draft capital out of him. We'll see. But with Kenny Pickett and with Mitch Trubisky, one of the things that those guys were really successful in is throwing over the middle. You were absolutely correct. With Ben Roethlisberger, he was throwing 2.2 seconds, really quick, and throwing and using the receivers as an extension of the run, throwing very quickly. I think that Pat Freiermuth is going to eat often and early at the beginning of the season with Mitch Trubisky and Kenny Pickett, which whoever's starting, with their ability to throw over the middle. I know that you mentioned before, though, that the Steelers are going to play a little bit different. However, against the Lions, Mason Rudolph threw over 50 times in that game. You don't see that. Maybe perhaps we're going to stick to a running game. I mean, a passing game, given the fact that we've had games without Ben Roethlisberger and we still maintain a high passing game. What do y'all think about that? Y'all think it's going to change still?
You got to change something. I'm telling you, you've got Najee Harris and a great defense. Let the defense rest, get first down yards. Honestly, just go out and get first down yards. Like bring it back to make it where you're playing your own game. The Steelers going to run the football and pass from that. I think anyway. Run the football, set up the pass, use Trubisky in play action motion, use Trubisky where he may even fake and run his own run for two yards, because Big Ben couldn't do that near the end. Big Ben couldn't run anymore, so he wasn't a threat. Ike Taylor said in one of his podcasts, he said that it was 11 versus 10. But now we have 11 versus 11. So we can use Claypool or whoever, Austin in the misdirection. We can use Muth in misdirection as well. Like, the Patrick Mahomes pass where he throws it like 2 feet in front of him and it counts as a touchdown. Why can't we do that kind of stuff? The Steelers can do that stuff. There's a lot of pressure actually on Matt Canada for Matt Canada's offense this year. Probably more pressure than any other year, because you have your quarterback who's mobile now, whoever it may be. Use Muth coming over. He's coming past you, throw them football, fake him that way. There's so many different ideas that all of us here are not coaches. Or Daniel, you've played a bit of football. But I'm not a coach, but I just know from what other teams are doing, like my homies and all those guys, there has to be different. You can't just go out there and pass 50 times and expect to win. You've got Najee Harris in the backfield, and hopefully some Benny Snell football to get us going.
Yeah, I mean that's the next big question is who's going to be backing up Najee Harris. He can't be the running back at 100% of the offensive plays, But I read an article from you, Mr. Owen, in referencing our offensive line, and I think that's going to be key for the future of our running offense. Which player do you think is going to be the captain of our offensive line, and which player do you think is most in danger of losing their position?
The captain of the offensive line, James Daniels. I mean, the guy is awesome. I mean, you've just got to listen to that interview that he gave to Steelers.com, Steelers TV at the start of the year before when he was actually signed. And he talked about wanting to be a leader. He talked about, though, that wasn't just something you get given. It was something that you earn through respect and going in respect to the defensive staff as well, and leading on the field, leading in the offensive line room. He just talked so well about that. And apparently coming out of OTAs and minicamp, he's been showing that same attitude as well. He's been leading, he's been talking, communicating. He's been the main guy on the line. So even though he's only, 24, 25 years old, he's already taken that very mature, very much like the Pouncey, De Castro type role on that line. So I think that he will be the leader for definite. Who's most at risk? Well, both of the tackles, really. That is the one position that really worries me still, is the offensive tackles. If you look at our tackles and our tackle depth, you've got Dan Moore, Chukes Okorafor as the starting tackles. Behind them, you've got Joe Haig, Trent Scott, Jake Dixon, Jordan Tucker, Chaz Green. And to me, there's no real quality, outstanding quality there. Dan Moore is in his sophomore year. Hopefully he will continue his development and will continue to do well. But his footwork, particularly in pass protection, is not good. Chukes is solid, but he's not aggressive enough. That's one of the things he always gets picked up on. And then the guys like Joe Haig is solid veteran. Trent Scott, solid veteran. You've then got 2 undrafted free agents and Chaz Green, who I know very little about. So for me, there's still a major weakness at tackle, and that is something that really does worry me. I'd like them to see them go out and sign someone like Eric Fisher or Terrell Crosby, someone like that, to come in and give a bit more depth at tackle.
if the Steelers were to pick up a tackle, which one do you think that they would replace first, Chooks or Dan Moore?
Well, if it was me, I'd replace Chooks first. I just don't think. I think Chooks is. I think he's too weak. I think he's solid. Don't get me wrong, and he's technically very good, but he just doesn't show enough aggression in what he does. And Dan Moore is a draft pick who they obviously got high hopes for in the future. What I would personally do is go after someone like Fisher because he's a starter, he's a veteran, he's a leader. Put him to left tackle and move Dan Moore to right tackle, which many people feel is actually Dan Moore's better position is right tackle.
I agree. And speaking about natural positions, what do you think about the left guard position in that battle there with Kendrick Green and Dotson there? Dotson, who was more, on the right side in college, he came in last year, and there was some reports that the staff there weren't very happy with him. A lot of the reports stated that, or a lot of speculation was that the reports were due to his conditioning. However, and it was actually from DK Sports Pittsburgh, he stated that it wasn't the conditioning and kind of put it out there that it was a mental aspect of it. And from him switching sides, do you think that Dotson has that position, lined up? Is it his, or do you think that Green's going to push? Well, let's start with you, Mark. What do you think about that battle there?
I don't think it's lined up. I think a lot of these guys in the line shouldn't expect them to, besides probably maybe James Daniels and Mason Cole at center now. They're the ones who, are penciled in. I know we have Chooks there who signed the 3-year deal, so that looks like he's going to be the right tackle, but that's also, like Owen said, the weakest area possibly. So I don't think you should be penciled in and say, I'm going to be the starter. But I do like the base that there's competition now between Dotson and Green, because we saw last year how many times Green got pushed back and their O-line was just not – there was this zero push. You go back and watch the Steelers in, like, the Super Bowl eras, like 2008, stuff like that, and the Alan Faneca and all those dudes, they're pushing the guys off the line like, 2 feet, 3 feet, forward, and then having room for Najee to run. So hopefully that James Daniels has an impact on the whole offensive line, some leadership, some veteran skills that can be like, boys, we need to go out there and be menaces. I'd be like, hey, Dotson, look how big you are. Go play like it, stuff like that. Like, you got to really fire him up. We've got Najee Harris behind us. Our rookie running back is one of the best. Let's get him. Let's put some effort in, and they just got to move the pocket forward, because they didn't do that. And hopefully, if Trubisky is starting there, he has time to link up with Muth. So it's going to be interesting training camp. I think this year, a lot of positions like, seeing Moore get better, but seeing Dotson is, I think right now he would be starter. But why can't Green be starter as well? He started all the games last year at center. If he moves position, he's more physical, more aggressive. I just want to see someone hit someone. So, just like go out there and hit someone. And you've got Najee Harris, man. You can't. People always talk about wasting years of players and this and this, right? Najee Harris is a special beast, and you need to push the pocket forward to give him 5 yards, 6 yards, and then he can start. He hasn't even started to carve up the middle linebackers yet. Hasn't gotten to the second level that many times. His biggest run last year, I think, was 20 yards. Right. Oh, actually, no, it was the Browns game. Sorry, it was the Browns game.
He had a big one. He was supposed to fall down for Big Ben to get one more knee. Fortunately, Norwood saved that for Big Ben and let him get that knee with that interception at the end of the game. No, for sure. I think that the offensive line has to make some big moves or has to improve significantly. I recently was watching a clip from Alex Kazor from Steelers Depot, and he was doing a film analysis, and I was looking at Cheeks Okorafor lined up next to Trey Turner. They were almost foot together, and the lineup was horrible. It was really bad last year. I look forward to the change of the guard this year. With the signing of James Daniels and Mason Cole, a lot of the consensus is that James Daniels is the better player there. Wouldn't you put him as the center position versus Mason and have Mason on that guard position? Do you think that the center position would be more important and his ability there might be better suited for us? What do you guys think about that?
I think, yeah, I mean, I can see that argument. I think the determination obviously is for James Daniels seems to want to play right guard rather than in the center position. Cole's a solid enough center. I don't think he's an amazing center. I think he's a solid center, and that's what he is. He did a solid job for the Vikings last year when he played there. So, I mean, I can see the point of view, and obviously the link up between Daniels and Trubisky from Chicago might be something as well. But that interior of the line doesn't really worry me. I do think that, going back to what you said about Dotson and Green, the competition will increase the performance of those two guys. And I listened to Dotson talking to Arthur Motes on Steelers Blitz the other day, and he was saying that his conditioning and his taking care of himself is a lot better than it used to be. Because apparently, when he used to finish practice in the past, he used to go home and go to sleep. That was it. That was his recovery. But there was no. I know this is a controversial thing in the NFL at the moment, but there was no massages, there was no weightlifting, there was no anything else post that. It was just go home and have a sleep. And I think he's now starting to take that conditioning a lot more seriously. So I don't have any worries in terms of the interior offensive line. I think Dotson will start. Dotson, Cole, and Daniels. The interior offensive line will be quality next year.
I agree. I think that there's only one place they can go is up. I mean, I think they were like 29th last year in rushing. And so I think the acquisition is going to be great. The other thing that we were really bad at last year was at stopping the run. I recently did a video breakdown the middle linebacker position. I am excited about Miles Jack. The way his ability to stay disciplined and have gap integrity made a lot of the plays that he's had and made him a standout, player. I'm reminded by Mike Tomlin stating, making routine plays routinely. And that's kind of what he does. But that next outside linebacker is a big question. Is it going to be Devin Bush? There's been speculation that is going to be the Buck. Devin Bush is kind of small. Would you prefer Devin Bush? Or would you prefer a Robert Spillane or maybe somebody not on the roster or Buddy Johnson? He was our pick last year. Let's start with you, Mark. What do you think about that middle linebacker position?
I reckon you got to go with Devin Bush at the start and see how it goes. But I don't mind Spillane being backup. But I'm keen to see what Miles Jack can do in this team, like an actual winning team, right? Mm-hmm. And our defense is going to be crazy. Like, let's be honest, our defense is crazy. We all know it. So I'm keen to see what this really now is. Devin Bush had a really funny year last year. Him and Schobert didn't want to tackle anyone. And go back and look at the tape. No, they didn't want to tackle anyone. Like, they were just 2 feet away, 3 feet away from the player every time. Minka came down to the box and made 129 tackles a game. Oh, not a game, but it felt like it for the year. Devin Bush, this was probably the year for him. I don't know what his contract is. If he's got 1 year, has he got 1 year left?
This is his last year. They did not extend him.
This is one of those things where it's like, you're not only fighting for a job with the Steelers, you're fighting for a job in the NFL. If you don't play well this year, you may not never play the NFL again. So, this is where you're going to go all out. I know you had the injury, but the average NFL career is like 3 or 4 years. Very well, if you don't play well this year, they may replace him by week 9, week 10, and see what happens with Spillane and just use Miles Jack as a feature guy. We've done this. We've done that in the past before. Who'd we bring in that 1 year? I can't remember. He's the guy from the Panthers. I can't remember his name. Anyways, like it wasn't the best linebacker. It'll come to my mind in a minute. But what I'm saying is, this is a chance now for the Devin Bush to go out there and secure your spot with the Steelers or another team next year.
No,
what's saying that another team doesn't want to pick him up next year because if he goes out and balls? But it's just the fact of the reality is you're playing for a job next year too.
Exactly. I think it was Vince Williams who recently said it on the Arthur Motes Experience that when you don't get picked up for that 10 millionth option for that $10 million bag, go make yourself 15 million the next year. And so that's his opportunity. He's got a chance to do something. I think it's going to be outstanding, the tandem between Bush and Miles Jack, and more so because of who's coaching him. Brian Flores is basically putting his hand on these two guys and teaching them, specifically, he doesn't have to worry about the entire defense. I think that was a huge acquisition. Mike Tomlin talked about that on the Pivot podcast and how that transition went down. And the players that were on that podcast that were not a part of the Steelers organization, Fred Taylor, Channing as well, they were kind of like in awe about how that transition went down. The organization in its whole, the Pittsburgh Steelers that they have is amazing. It's the players around the world or around the other league kind of speak up to it as well. Do you think that, did you guys watch that podcast, that Pivot podcast with Mike Tomlin? What were your thoughts on it?
I listened to it twice. I'd blown away by it, man. I'd run through a brick wall for that guy. I'd go into battle for that guy. I'd do whatever he asked me. I mean, he's just awesome. He's just unbelievable. Yeah, and that story about how he got Brian Flores to to the Steelers about he walked down the hall to Hart Rooney's office and said, I want us to sign Flores, and Rooney was like, yeah, okay. That was it.
He's like, go for it.
It's just an awesome story. But no, some of the way, he talked, the way Tomlin talked about things, especially that thing about he doesn't seek comfort in what he's done before, and he's constantly striving to prove himself. And I seriously, all these people who don't like Mike Tomlin, sit and watch that podcast, sit and listen to that podcast, and then try and come out with those same opinions, because you clearly don't know what you're talking about if you sit and listen to that. The guy is just is amazing.
I'm done. I'm done with this. I'm done with the Mike Tomlin haters. I really am. I'm telling you, this year, when we beat the Bengals, I'm not talking about the score. I'm not talking about who won, who scored points, who won rushing yards. I'm coming after the Tomlin haters. I am. I'm coming after you. And if you're listening to the chat on replay or whatever, I really am, because I'm done with you. I'm so done with you. If the Steelers go and beat the Bengals this year, week 1, go 1-0, then shut up.
I thought I'd give you a little Mike Tomlin love there. I really love that podcast. Exactly that. He was talking about not wanting to swim in the comfort and things of that nature, and he's been the coach there for a while. I was actually on a live not too long ago, and somebody asked me, "What do you think why Coach Tomlin still coaches, and what does he still have left to prove?" And I was reminded about Kevin Colbert, stating more than and always going for more than, more Super Bowls. But one thing that I think is very important to him is building or having a franchise quarterback. When he was put into the Pittsburgh Steelers, Ben Roethlisberger was already here, or already with the Steelers. He was already a franchise quarterback, already a Super Bowl winning quarterback. And I think that might be something that's huge for him. What do you think or what would you say that pushes Mike Tomlin to continue to coach? I know that's a out of this world question that only he could answer, but do you think that's important to him? Does that push him? What do y'all think?
It's the bloody players. It's actual coaching, right? It's not just winning. It's actual teaching these men, and we forget that. We bloody forget that we're just watching men play football and they're learning how to be actual men. So it's Coach Tomlin loves this game, and I'm really sick of the Coach Tomlin haters. I've given you 4 years now, 5 years. I'm telling you. When they beat the Bengals week 1, I'm coming for you.
Yeah, I strongly suspect that too. Go ahead, Owen. What do you think about
just Tomlin? Just first of all, I know he talked about his desire, because he wasn't as good a player as he wanted to be, so he's got that hunger to prove himself as a coach. But he also talked, and I think one of the great things he talked about was the fact that he said that those guys need to eat, they need to support their families, and it's his duty, his job to support those guys in doing that and get them to a position where they can do that. And he doesn't, what was it he said? He runs to coaching, he doesn't run from coaching. And he says anybody who says, well, you can't do that, this player can't do that, that's bad coaching, and that's you giving up on your players, and that's something he doesn't do. And just, I think through that interview, it just showed what a passion he has for his job. And when someone loves their job and has such passion for their job, they don't want to stop doing it. And I think that's something that Tomlin has. He just loves it.
Oh, I agree. I mean, you could have a coach like, was it Doug Peterson, who pulled out his starters so that he can have a better draft pick the next year, and then he got fired that offseason, so he didn't even get the opportunity to relinquish that.
The worst play the worst coaching move I've ever seen in my life. I'll admit I had money on that game. I had money for I think I needed them to win me. I think a few thousand actually. I chose who did I have to win the division? I had someone to win the division, and they bloody stuffed up, right?
Oh,
I think I had the Redskins to win the division or something like that. And as soon as he moved, I told my dad, as soon as he moved out the quarterback, I was like, nah, they've lost. He did it on purpose. He did that on purpose. And Tomlin doesn't do that, right? Tomlin just doesn't. Oh, that was the year the Cowboys went down, right? Oh, I had the Giants. That's right. The Giants were going to win the division if the Eagles won that game. Doug Peterson pulled out his coach, his player, Hurts, right? Who was coming back to win the game. Put in a guy that was worthless, fumbled twice, threw an interception. Coach Tomlin won't do that. He just won't do that. So, it's just the hate that he gets. I just don't see it. He's a future Hall of Fame coach. He will be the one. I was going to go to the Hall of Fame 2 years ago before the pandemic happened. I was going to see Troy. I'm going to see not Big Ben in the Hall of Fame. I'm going to save money to go up and see Coach Tomlin. If that's 2028, if that's whenever, if that's 20, or hopefully not. But if that's, 2030 or whatever, I'm going to save money up and go shake Tomlin's hand. I'm going to pay all the money and say, thank you, coach. He's a Hall of Fame coach, mate. Like he's 154 victories. Yeah, we haven't won in the playoffs. He's a Hall of Fame coach. He's a winner. Deal with it, and I'm coming.
Oh, I agree. I mean, just that 2019 season alone, what he was able to do with what we had at quarterback at certain points with Duck, and no disrespect to him. I mean, he made it to the league, but he did not have the arm strength and the talent to be on the field with some of the guys that he was going up against, and they outcoached a lot of those teams to get to where they were. You're absolutely right. The Pittsburgh Steelers would never be a team that would do something like that, like Doug Peterson. In fact, with what's going on with Brian Flores, just the fact that we picked him up and he was going through something similar where the Miami Dolphins had asked him to throw some games and he wasn't willing to. So just that integrity and all that about Coach T, I love it. I love the guy to death. He's going to be here for a while. He's not perfect and nobody is, but you can't go this league with professional football players for as long as he's done it and be as successful as he is without being a great person and a great coach. I love Coach T. But with that said, guys, what do you think is what are you guys waiting for when it comes to week one? Are you waiting to see what the offense is going to do? Or are you waiting to see what defense is going to do? You want them to, what are you most excited to see come week one when we go into Cincinnati? Is it offense or defense?
You go first, Owen.
Mark loves the Bungles, don't you, Mark?
Hate them. Absolutely hate them.
I'm excited to see this new offense, to see what this new offense is going to bring. I'm not worried about the defense. I've got no concerns about that defense. I think it'll hold up no matter what. And I just want to see what the offense is going to bring that's different to last year, because of the fact we're now going to have a mobile quarterback in either Trubisky or Pickett. We've got all those weapons in wide receiver. Najee's in his second year. The O-line, although the tackles are not perfect, is going to be better than last year. Not awesome, but better. Freiermuth, I think, like you said, Daniel, he's going to eat early and often. He is just awesome. I'm really excited to see what this new offense is going to be like this year. And I think we're going to smash the Bungles because we owe them.
Oh, I do too. What about you, Mark? What are you excited to see the most come week one? What are you looking for?
I'm excited to see Joey Bungles facing the dirt, crying. I really am. I'm sick of the Bengals. I'm sick of the Bengals too, man. The Bengals are another team that are like, they've won literally 3 games against us. We had a 12 streak record for the last, I think, 4 years. You've now won 3. Okay, that's okay. If you win 4, then maybe you start talking, right? You go to the playoffs and you win your first playoff game in 11,000 days. I had a tracker. I looked at it every single day. 11,000 plus days. And then you won 3 games in a row. Your overall playoff record is like 15 and something, right? Nothing. You then lose the Super Bowl, and you're telling me that you're meant to be one of the best teams in the NFL just because of those 3 reasons. You're telling me that you have a good team. I don't really care about that though. So I want to see the defense just go as hard in the paint as you can. TJ Watt, don't stop. Alex Highsmith, don't stop. Cameron Hayward, don't stop. Minka, don't stop. I want to see them not score a point like for the first quarter, and they'll just be like, oh my, what are we facing here? The Steelers. Because the Steelers are re-energized right now. The Steelers defense is better. They paid all the people they needed to pay. They brought in Miles Jack. They brought in the guys they needed to. They even brought in one of their former Bengals on the side. You think he's going to be pissed off? 100% he's going to be pissed off. So you got to go after Smuggy Joe and the little whatever that is. Like, I'm sick of you, mate. He's the kind of guy you would want to punch in the face if you're allowed to, but you can't because you're not allowed to. But if you could, you would. I'm sick of him.
I agree, man. I'm super excited. The reason why I'm excited about that first week 1 game is the fact that TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith will be the healthiest that they have ever been playing against Joe Burrow. And he'll get to actually see a healthy defense or a healthy Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Last year, the first game against Joe Burrow, both Alex Highsmith and TJ Watt were absent due to injury. In the second game, I unfortunately never got to see that game. My dog had an emergency that needed to go to the vet for, and so I didn't get to see it. So I blame that for the reason why the Steelers lost, is because I wasn't present. But even at that game, Watt had a lingering groin injury, and there were certain games where he wasn't 100%, and that second game against the Cincinnati Bengals was one of them. So I'm excited about that. I really think that the NFL is a copycat league, and they saw what the Cincinnati Bengals were able to do last year, and they attributed to their success more towards Jamar Chase versus Joey Burrow. And I think that the evidence is in the draft and what they've been paying these receivers, what they've been giving up. And I think that the good thing about a skill position is it can be schemed with a good defense and a good defensive coach. And I think that we have both of those. And so I think we're going to surprise the world come week 1. I'm excited about it. We're getting pretty long in the tooth on this episode, guys. So before I leave you guys, I want to ask you guys a couple, 2 questions, and then we'll let you guys go. Where do you think, what is our schedule? What is your record prediction? And where do you think we're going to fall in the division? What position? And we'll start with you, Owen.
I put out a video the other day on this, actually. 12-5, and we win the division.
Oh, nice. Convincingly, or is it going to be a competition with another team?
Us, I think it'd be us and the Ravens. That's who I honestly think it'd be, the Ravens and us competing for the division. I think the Browns finish last. I think the Bengals this year don't do as well. They'll have a target on their back. They've got a tougher schedule. People know about Jamar Chase now. They're not as big a surprise. And people forget that so-called awful Steelers team were half a game back on them last year. And they were meant to be this all-conquering, awesome Bengals team. So, yeah, forget them. So, no, it'll be us versus the Ravens, 12-5. We win division.
I like it. What about you, Mark? What are you thinking?
I'll go something similar. I'll go 11-6, but I reckon it can be 12-5. It can be 13-4, just because we have, if you go and sign Chris Boswell and make him feel comfortable, then he's going to have a stellar year as well. This defense is amazing, right? This defense on paper is fantastic. And I think even the inclusion now of Brian Flores being pissed off as well. A lot of success comes from being pissed off. And when you're pissed off like that, you want to take it out on someone. And week 1, it's going to be the Bengals. I think they're penciled in now to already win. They've already won that game in their minds. And they're going to have an angry Steeler team come in, an underdog team, that we are 4th in the division to win the AFC North. For some reason, the Browns are first to win it via the odds. If you go to any odds on Vegas or wherever, in Australia, Steelers are $10. It's like, what the hell? Like Owen said, the biggest threat really is the Ravens again. The Browns are going through a really tough year. Got all the stuff they brought on themselves, right? The Bengals are good, but can you be great, right? If they beat us week 1, I'll be like, sure, okay, maybe they're a good team. But I get this feeling that it doesn't matter who we have at quarterback on offense. The defense can control that game, take away Jamar Chase, take away some of their receivers, and get Miles Jack involved, get Devin Bush back to where he was playing, and TJ Watt and those fellas are going to go off. They have to, like Brian Brown said in the chat, the Titans sacked Joey Bungle 7 times, and he still won. You know what I'm saying? I'm telling you, you get to Joey Bungle, make him uncomfortable. He won't be smiling and dancing back there. He'll be like, I don't want to verse TJ Watt. I just need to get rid of the football. Mistakes will happen, and then it'll be a close game, and we can win that game by 3. But I think, 11-6, 12-5, something similar. We have a big shot this year to go and win the division, and no one really cares about us. So that's the best incentive.
No, I agree. I think, I'm going to go ahead and agree with Brian Brown here and say we're going to go 17-0. But no, in reality, I think it's going to be kind of similar to what you guys are saying. I think that we're going to surprise some people and come out with about 12 to 13 wins. We have the 3rd easiest schedule. It's a long year. And not to mention there's a lot of clout given to the AFC West because of the quarterbacks and the teams that they've assembled. And they're good teams, but they also got to play each other twice a year. And so those guys are going to beat each other up. I think that's going to give us a better record. We only play one team out of the AFC West, which is the Raiders. And when you look at the AFC West in whole, I think the Raiders is probably the team you'd want to play out of that division. Maybe the Broncos. I know they got Russell Wilson, but they gave up a lot to get him. So the surrounding pieces may not be there. But I'm also thinking about 12, 13 wins. I think we're going to surprise people. I think we're going to come out first in division, and we're going to compete for that first round bye just because of the competition that's going on there in the West.
I got a question for you, Daniel. Would you say that if Big Ben was under center? And same with you, Owen.
Honestly, no.
Same.
I think that Big Ben probably as great as he is, and he's a Hall of Famer, he's a first bout Hall of Famer, and he's done some amazing things. But Father Time catches everybody, and with his injury to his arm, he wasn't the same when he came back. I know we went 11-0 and we had that run coming back in that 2020 season, but a lot of teams were playing us, based on what Ben used to do. They played deep. They allowed us to throw the ball under and short and fast, and teams weren't ready for it. And it allowed us to go 11 games. But once teams started to figure things out and say, hey, you know what? All they're doing is just dumping really close and not even trying to extend the ball. Then we started losing to teams like Washington Commanders. And, as great as their defense was and is, that was not a team that we should have lost to, especially at that point of the year. And so, I think this year, with Mitch Trubisky or Mason Rudolph, Mitch Trubisky, well, even Mason Rudolph, I think Mason Rudolph in that Denver game, and I'll ask you this, in that Detroit Lions game, if Ben Roethlisberger plays, are we still tying that game? Do we win or lose? I think we lose that game. I don't think Ben jumps as high as Mason does to catch some of those balls that Kendrick Green was throwing. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I think we would have won the game just because of the experience that Ben brought. I mean, if you had a situation where, like Mason did when Ray McLeod was completely open in the end zone, I don't think Ben would have tried to bounce past the ball to him like Mason did. And I don't think Ben would have thrown the interception that Mason did, where he threw the ball absolutely nowhere near one of our receivers. So I hear what you're saying about about that thing, but I just think we wouldn't have been in a position where that would have mattered because Ben just brings that bit more experience and that bit more know-how. But no, I agree with what both of you have said about if Ben was under center this year, I don't think we win the division. I think we would be 9-8, something like that.
Yeah, I agree.
I do too. I think that Matt Canada's offense is a lot more than what we've been able to do because of the restrictions of Ben Roethlisberger. And now we can really open it up. I mean, that's just the truth. When it
this is the year, Daniel, mate. This is the year that there's no excuses because you have the mobile quarterback, whoever that may be. But this is the year, the new era that I'm telling you, run the football, do some play action stuff, get Claypool, motion involved, whoever. This is the kind of the year to be like, just go out and score. Like, look, if our defense can hold them under 20, you've got to score 3 touchdowns. All you got to do, go and score 3 touchdowns, hold them under 20, I reckon, or 21, because if the defense can hold up and play, football where you're not going 3 and out, then you have a chance. You have a chance this year if you can hold the ball.
No, I agree. I agree. I think that the time of possession was horrible last year, and our offense was really poor. And I think that reflected on our defense. Our defense ended up having, they were on the field so dang long. They're playing against professional athletes. Things are going to happen. I mean, if we look at the playoff game, we held the Chiefs to 5 possessions in a row without a score, and in fact had a defensive score before they were able to score offensively. Those things, if we had an offense that could hold the ball, I mean, nutrition plays a key in that as well. The taking plays, having higher time of possession would leave fewer plays for the defense, less likely to get injured. So I agree. But that's going to do it for us here today, guys. Please, guys, before you guys go, let us know where we can find y'all, and then I'll let everybody go. Also, guys, please hit that like and subscribe. Don't forget, we're giving away 2 tickets to a lucky subscriber to see the Pittsburgh Steelers play live this year on October 2nd against the New York Jets. The only thing you have to do to be entered into that contest is be a subscriber. We're going to be going live on Monday to announce the winner. So you want to hit that notification button so that you're aware of that live, and good luck for everybody. With that said, guys, let me know where we can find you, and then we're heading out of here.
Yeah, you can find me from 42 Wallaby Way, Sydney. If you haven't heard, that's from Finding Nemo. I live around that area, so you can find me there. I really don't do this Twitter shit, man. I just have a good time. So I think I'm on Twitter somewhere, Steelers Oz. I'm on Steeler Nation Australia on YouTube. Shoot, I'm on BTSC every now and then, and I'm on Pittsburgh Steelers Syndicate. I'm everywhere but nowhere.
What about you, Owen?
Pittsburgh Steelers Syndicate with Mark, obviously, the big channel we're on. Britsburgh Owen, if you want to talk Steelers, and Britsburgh NFL on YouTube. So for general NFL talk channel. And then on Twitter, at Britsburgh Owen on Twitter. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Awesome, guys. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm sure we'll be doing this again. I've linked in y'all's channels into the description. So everybody watching, please go follow them. With that being said, guys, peace.